I want to talk to you today about something that most people are too polite or too afraid to say out loud. Not a motivational speech, not a list of tips, not a collection of quotes that sound beautiful but change nothing. A conversation. The kind of conversation that a woman who genuinely loves you, who has no agenda, no fear of your reaction, no need for your approval, would have with you if she could sit across from you right now and tell you everything she sees. Because here is what I have noticed. Women spend their entire lives being told what to do, what to wear, what to want, how to behave, how to be a good daughter, a good wife, a good mother, a good employee, a good friend. But nobody, almost nobody, ever sits a woman down and asks her the questions that actually matter. The questions she needs to ask herself before it is too late to act on the answers.
So today, that is exactly what we are going to do. Whether you are approaching your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, or somewhere in between,
this conversation is for you. Stay with me for the full video, because what I am about to say is going to require you to be honest with yourself in a way that might be uncomfortable. And I promise you that discomfort is worth it. If you are approaching or probably in your 30s, here is the conversation you need to have with yourself. Your 30s are the decade where the gap between the life you imagined and the life you are actually living becomes impossible to ignore. In your 20s, everything felt provisional or temporary. You told yourself, I am just figuring it out. There is time. I will get to it eventually. But your 30s arrive and suddenly eventually is now. And that can feel terrifying. Or if you choose to see it differently, it can feel like the most powerful invitation you have ever received. So here are the questions every woman in her 30s needs to ask herself honestly. Look at your relationships, your career, your home, your daily routine, your circle of friends. How much of it did you choose genuinely, freely, deliberately, and how much of it happened to you because you were too afraid, too busy, or too conditioned to choose differently? This is not about burning everything down. It is about being honest about what is yours and what belongs to someone else's vision of your life. There is something in your life right now that you have been tolerating. A relationship that drains you, a job that diminishes you, a pattern in yourself that you keep promising to address, a boundary that you keep drawing and then erasing. Your 30s are the decade to stop tolerating and start deciding. Because everything you tolerate in your 30s becomes the foundation of your 40s. And a foundation built on tolerance rather than intention is not a foundation, it is a slow collapse. Not for your children, not for your partner, not for your career or your image or anyone's approval, just for you. If you cannot remember, that is your answer. And it is the most important thing this conversation can give you today. If you are approaching or in your 40s, here is the conversation you need to have with yourself. Your 40s are the decade of reckoning, not in a frightening way, but in the most clarifying, most liberating, most honest way a woman can experience. Because by your 40s, you know things. You know who you are. You know what you will not accept. You know the difference between love and need, between ambition and approval seeking, between a relationship that builds you and one that slowly hollows you out. You have earned that knowledge through hard seasons, through losses, through the particular wisdom that can only come from having lived long enough to see patterns repeat. The question is, are you using it? Many women in their 40s are living lives that were designed for a version of themselves that no longer exists. The career you chose at 22, the relationship dynamic you established at 28, the identity you built in your 30s, the responsible one, the strong one, the one who holds everything together. You are allowed to redesign your life at 40. You are allowed to want different things. You are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that everyone has come to depend on. Permission granted. By your 40s, most women have spent 2 decades managing other people's perceptions of them. And that management, that constant, exhausting, invisible labor of being acceptable has cost you something. Ask yourself honestly, What would you do differently tomorrow if you simply stopped caring about the opinions of people who are not paying your bills, living your life, or walking in your shoes? The answer to that question is the map to the rest of your life. There is a difference between a woman who is thriving in her 40s and a woman who is simply managing. One is moving forward, learning, expanding, becoming. The other is maintaining, holding it together, keeping the peace, making sure nothing falls apart. Which one are you? And if the answer is surviving, what is one thing you could change this week to start moving toward thriving? And if you are approaching or in your 50s, here is the conversation you need to have with yourself. Your 50s are not the beginning of the end. They are the beginning of the most unapologetically yourself you have ever been allowed to be. Because something extraordinary happens to women in their 50s if they let it. The noise quiets. The need for approval that consumed your 20s and 30s and 40s, it starts to fade. The opinions that once had the power to derail you lose their grip. The performances you have been giving for decades start to feel exhausting rather than necessary. And in that quiet, if you are brave enough to sit in it, you find something you may not have visited in a very long time: yourself. Not what you wanted at 25. Not what you were told you should want. Not the dreams you deferred or the ambitions you quietly put away because life got complicated. What do you want now? At this age, in this body, with everything you know, with everything you have survived? Because the answer to that question, for many women in their 50s, is the most honest and the most exciting answer they have ever given. Stand in front of the mirror and look at the woman looking back at you. Not at her face, at her character, at her values, at the way she moves through the world. Is she the woman you always intended to become? Is she kind, not just to others, but to herself? Is she brave, not just in crises, but in the ordinary moments where courage is quieter but just as necessary? Is she living, truly living, or simply existing through the days? If the answer is yes, celebrate her. She is extraordinary. And if the answer is not yet, know that not yet is not never. And the most powerful woman in any room is always the one who decided at any age that it was not too late to become who she was always meant to be. Not in a grand monument building sense, in the most personal and most profound sense. What do you want the women who come after you, your daughters, your nieces, your mentees, the young women watching you from a distance to learn from how you lived? Whether you are in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, or anywhere in between, here is the one truth that runs through every question I have asked you today. It is not too late. For the woman in her 30s who feels like she is running out of time, it is not too late. For the woman in her 40s who feels like she missed her window, it is not too late. For the woman in her 50s who wonders if the best of her life is behind her, it is not too late. It is never too late for a woman who decides. And deciding, truly deciding, is the most powerful act available to any woman at any age. So here is what I want you to do before you close this video. Pick one question from today, just one. The one that hit the hardest, the one that you felt in your chest rather than just your mind. The one that you are already trying to push away because the honest answer makes you uncomfortable. Sit with that question today, not for hours, not for weeks, just today. Let it be uncomfortable. Let it reveal something. Let it point you toward the conversation you have been avoiding having with yourself. Because that conversation is the beginning of the most important chapter of your life. And you are more than ready to write it. Ruby Gold posts every single day, content that asks the hard questions, celebrates the honest answers, and walks beside you through every season of becoming. Subscribe and turn on your notifications because the next conversation is already coming, and it is going to be even more important than this one. Walk bold. Live gold.